Vita Sports on a Tuesday morning. Welcome in. Mike Tuck, Chris Vasquez on a double shot Tuesday.
This is for Kelly.
We pieced this. Oh, okay.
Okay.
It surprised me a little bit. It was for you, to be honest. I was like,
No.
all right, I can dig it.
No, we're throwing it back on a Tuesday. School's right around the corner, so songs that remind you of your childhood.
I like it. Yeah, I think a few things, right? Training camps underway, like college football practices. The Knights got underway yesterday. Matt Marshall will join us today. So it's like kind of going back and getting the rhythm, like school shopping.
Yep.
You know, those days,
Enjoy those.
you know, especially like I think you get older, right? Like when I was, you know, even in middle school, I didn't care. But like high school, you start to care a little bit more about your wardrobe and things like that.
Wardrobe, you gotta have the coolest backpack.
Right. Oh, that's true too. Yeah, the backpack.
Backpack was a big thing.
Yeah.
The shoes too.
Yeah.
Shoes and backpack.
Yeah, I'm not the like I'm anti Chelsea as we discussed yesterday with Mark. Like I am not fashionista guy at all. I don't want to look poor, but I'm also not Mr. like care about it. Right? But yeah. I remember my friends hijacked me once, took me to the mall. Like, we got to get you in here and get some new clothes. I reluctantly went. I think I was a freshman or something like that.
Freshman in high school?
Yeah. Or going into sophomore, one or the other. Maybe, no, probably going into sophomore because I was able to drive at that point. So 50857. What brings you back to your teenage years? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't even have to be teenage years. You can go way back if you want.
Like little?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how, like, music doesn't really hit you, though, until
you hear songs and you're like, damn, man, that takes me back.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's funny, though, thinking about it, though. Like, my parents will remind me of songs I liked as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, yeah, okay. I kind of remember it, but, like, the song doesn't, like, have real meaning. It has more meaning for them than it does for me. It's just like a song that I liked when I was 7 or 6.
For me, I always go back to, like, Hybrid Theory, the Linkin Park album, their first album. Fantastic. I listened to that as a kid. Or God.
How old? I hate to ask this. How old were you then?
Had to be like 12.
Okay, yeah, a little bit. I was
somewhere around there.
Yeah, I know I'm older than you, but
God, I remember buying I'm gonna hate admitting this, Lil Bow Wow.
Okay. Just Bow Wow now. He ain't little anymore.
No, he ain't little no more. But I had a Lil Bow Wow CD. Little John and the East Side Boys.
Yeah.
I think I had an Aaron Carter CD.
Aaron Carter.
Yes.
Branching off from Backstreet Boys and taking the younger Carter.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a mix of everything. My first ever concert was Garth Brooks.
Okay. Right. Good. You got a
wide variety.
A wide net.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are that when you kind of find your groove at some point.
I don't discriminate.
One of my best friends was that way. Man, he switched genres of music that he liked. It felt like every year it was like something new. But then eventually you kind of settle into what you like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you don't like other stuff. It's just kind of like hit or miss. I think that makes sense for a lot of people.
I love music.
I don't know who doesn't. Like, you know, like I'm not musically inclined at all. Like I don't have any musical abilities whatsoever.
No, me neither.
But yeah, it's hard to not enjoy music in some way, shape, or form.
You always find the music that fits your mood.
Yeah, exactly. Or puts you in a mood. Yeah, one way or the other. So 50857, what brings you back, if you will? Whether it's way back because you're a little bit older or maybe in just a few years back if you're a little bit younger. Yesterday was Major League Baseball's trade deadline. Look, I think clearly the Dodgers are coming out winners with this, although right now they're not winning very much. Losers of 4 consecutive games after the Cubs blasted them last night. But I think that anytime you add to what is already a rich pot, but I also think that there's part of it too, and I touched on this a little bit yesterday, is you're not assured anything. Like winning in the playoffs is exceedingly difficult. I'll always remember that Cardinals team that was like 82-79. They didn't even play the full year. I think they were 1 game short that season. And they didn't have a good pitching staff. And for some reason, Jared Weaver was on that team, right? And like they just put it all together when it counted, and they won the world. It's the worst World Series winner in my entire lifetime, but it showed, even before the expanded playoffs, that if you get hot at the right time in baseball, and it is just that, it's timely hitting, it's good pitching, it's good defense, all those little things tend to add up. A lot of teams can win. There's really, it's I think hockey's probably the closest as far as like, it feels like anybody can win. You're going to give teams chances to win, right, based on talent and abilities, but if you're only playing 3 or 4 games, it's real easy for your superstar to get like 1 hit over 4 games.
Yeah.
So in the Dodgers case, the more you have at your disposal, the better chances you are of winning. And so, I applaud them, even without being a fan. I applaud them for being aggressive because you never know what the future holds. 2 years ago, they had to win with barely a starting pitching staff. Last year, they had to win with barely a bullpen. This year, like if everyone gets back healthy, they're going to have 8 legitimate Major League Baseball starters, and I'm sure they'll filter some of that down to the bullpen and try to figure it out from there, but you're not guaranteed everyone's going to be healthy. So I applaud them and their aggressiveness for going after it. They even added guys late yesterday, like Fiducia from the Rays and Ben Revort from the Mets, who is like now 3 times a Dodger. And they did this a year ago, and they'll just cut guys. They'll, like, when they come down to, all right, 40-man roster, we got to expel because they're planning for every possible contingency. Right. And that's the thoroughness I would think everyone wants of their team. I applaud what the Cubs did yesterday. I love what the Cubs did yesterday. They were ultra aggressive. They went out and got 3 starting pitchers. They went out and improved their bullpen. They went out and really attacked the market as well as they could. My only complaint with Chicago is that with as much as they invested to bring in Clay Holmes from the Mets, they could have actually been aggressive and gotten Tarek Skubal.
So to that point, we keep saying that with all these teams. We don't know if the Tigers would have accepted any of these offers.
I don't know. You're not wrong. But we can only speculate based on what they actually did accept.
Yeah.
And we can also mostly accurately lay out a scenario for all of these teams where they could put something on the table that's better. Now, one thing that you learn, like, over time, certainly, but I do dynasty leagues, right, and things like that, and baseball the same way. Like I was telling you AL only stuff. I got George Lombard on the team who got called up today. Like everyone's evaluations are still different for what it's worth, right? Like the Tigers Dodgers deal is a really good example of that because River Ryan was the pitcher that is most prominent that they're taking back in the deal. And some evaluators rank him as a top 50 prospect. Some have him closer to 100. Why? Because he's 28. He's got an injury history. And he's still like just coming off. He's now just like 10 starts coming off of Tommy John, right? So there's all of that. And, right, huge upside, which is what the Tigers clearly are betting on, right? So the Tigers obviously hold him with more value than maybe other teams would. And it's the same thing for what we're saying is like, as much as we can look at any rankings and like Pipeline I was citing yesterday, I like Keith Law's rankings as well. Like there's a lot you can look at. There's going to be variance team to team. It's no different than like NFL draft rankings, right? And you look at all those and like some team's going to have the guy that most people have as the number 1 guy, number 5. Or some guy like I kidded yesterday, Malachi Corley out of the league. The Jets claimed that he was their second best receiver in that draft. He's not even in the league anymore 3 years later. Like they missed on that one, but everyone's going to have their own opinion. So as much as, but all I'm saying is from our perspective, we can put on paper something that the Cubs or the Brewers or the Braves or whoever could have offered the Dodger or offered the Tigers that at least from our collective viewpoint would be better. That's all I'm presenting. And that's my only argument against the Cubs. I love what the Cubs did. I told you, I think the Cubs right now are the Dodgers' biggest threat in the National League. Also,
to that point, we talk about what offers could have been made that the Tigers may or may not have accepted. What if teams like the Cubs felt like we're going to give up way too much for one guy? Let's maybe diversify and try and add more pieces with what we were willing to trade away.
The Cubs are the team I cite specifically in this example. I would say Milwaukee as well because they only made the one move, so clearly they didn't really invest any of their prospects. None of their top prospects got moved. But I say Chicago because they made a flurry of moves. They didn't make one move. They didn't just go add Clay Holmes. They added Gaussman. They added, who was the other guy they added? I got my list. It's here. Oh, Braxton Garrett from Miami. Zeverjan out of the bullpen from the Angels. So like they did a handful of things. So what I'm saying is instead of maybe Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor, maybe they just go out and, maybe they take the assets from the Garrett deal and allocate that towards. So now you're just getting 2 starters, but you're getting a guy that's going to literally be Tarek Skubal atop your rotation. That's my argument on that one, is you combine 2 moves and make it into one to sweeten the pot. Because if you're willing to give up all those assets and multiple moves, because they do have pretty good pitching. Like they just beefed it up, the way the Dodgers beefed theirs up. We have more arms.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing
No.
because you want to have a deep rotation going into the playoffs.
Right. Well, going into the playoffs, really, you just need 4.
Yeah, but you're going to have guys coming out of the bullpen that are starters. You want them.
Sometimes, yeah.
You want to have what seems like an unlimited amount of arms in case you get yourself in a situation.
Sure. And even like as you've seen teams through the years that advance and win World Series, like sometimes there's the back end of any series, like a guy or two might flop because of an injury or just because of circumstance. Hey, we'd rather have a lefty out of the bullpen in this particular series we didn't need in the last one because of the batters we're going to face, or we're going to switch out a utility guy for another utility, whatever it is, right? Like you have those things that will have some variance there. But they're winners. And look, I think we pick on, and we rightfully so, like it's hard to look at every situation the same. Like there is the example of the Cardinals winning the World Series when they were barely over 500, but there's way more examples of teams that are in that same position that do make the playoffs that are quick outs. Like they're just simply not good enough. There's not enough talent. That was, again, I would say the least talented team I've ever seen win the World Series and the worst record win the World Series. But you can't look at Baltimore, who is in the wild card hunt, and go, oh yeah, that's a playoff team that's going to win in the playoffs. Like there's no part of me that believes that. They don't have, they're just weak kind of everywhere. Even Detroit, like there's that argument. My argument for Detroit wasn't that they should keep Skubal because of this year. It's because they should spend the money to keep him, period, on the roster. That was my argument for Detroit, more so than I think they can win the World Series this year. Right? Well, even Toronto, to their credit, they moved off Gaussman, but they brought in Soriano. They moved off Varsho, but they brought in Spencer Arrighetti. So, like, they sort of made, like, lateral moves that will keep them in the conversation for next year and maybe weakens their chances slightly this year, but doesn't, like, hit a reset button.
Did Skubal come out and say that he didn't want to come back to Detroit?
No.
After this year?
No, I don't have audio of it. I don't know. Maybe it's in the system somewhere. I should have brought that up to you. But I read his quote yesterday where he said, like people, and again, he's coming at it from a Dodger point of view now, but it's basically what I said is, like, I don't know why everyone's looking at the Dodgers like they're bad guys here. Like, everyone had a chance to get me. Like, he said that. Everyone had a chance to get me.
Every team could trade for me. I don't sympathize with people that are complaining because the Dodgers do all the right things.
Right. That's out of his mouth. That's not speculation. That's him saying any team could have got me. That's what I said yesterday. Any team could have got him.
But my point is, why, like, was he not willing to re-sign in Detroit? Because why was he being dealt? Why would the Tigers not try and re-sign him long term?
Why weren't they? Yes. No, because they didn't think they could afford him. Look, and I said this yesterday, like, they tried to go the cheap route through arbitration. They could have signed him an extension before the year. They tried to go cheap in arbitration, and then he got awarded the largest because he's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, right? Like, for a $7 billion owner and a team that has made $120 million over the last 5 years, including $30 million profit last year, which puts them in the middle to above section in all of baseball because they're choosing to choose profits over success, frankly. They're choosing to not bring him back. That's my answer to you. That is their choice. A middle finger to the fan base.
By the way, do you want the audio of Tarek Skubal?
And by the way, again, like, they went out and signed Framber Valdez. You could put on your happy hat your angel, and she says, oh, they're trying to win because they added another really top line pitcher to Skubal. Or you can put on your devil hat and say they could have just taken that money and added it to Skubal's salary and kept the best pitcher in baseball.
You want Skubal's audio?
Yeah, if you got it.
I didn't get to. Every team could trade for me. Every team could make that acquisition. And I don't really sympathize with people that blame the Dodgers for anything they've done. They've developed a really good organization. They draft well. They acquire talent really well. They retain talent. It's a winning organization. Now the complaints seem to be because they've won the last 2 World Series. I don't think it was like that 3 years ago. So I don't really sympathize with people that are complaining because the Dodgers, do all the right things.
There you go. I don't have anything to add to that. That's just what I've said, and it's coming straight from him. All these other teams had an opportunity. You don't have to sign him. They didn't have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into him. If you were afraid of his age and coming off of an injury, like all that stuff's off the table. It's literally a half-season investment to just the contenders, right? We're not expecting even like the fringy teams, right? I'm not expecting Pittsburgh to necessarily go out and do it. All that would have been fun, right? But I would expect the Atlantas and the Milwaukees and the Chicagos and the New Yorks and the Bostons and maybe even Houston, because not only are they hot, they have had a history of success. Why not you guys? Why not you guys?
Again, I don't.
We've seen pitchers, CC Sabathia, Justin Verlander, Randy Johnson. We've seen pitchers acquired at deadlines that have made huge differences that fit into Skubal's category.
I don't think we know fully what was offered to Detroit by any of these teams.
Well, we don't unless they tell us.
And then we don't know if Detroit would have accepted any.
But I think, frankly, you're foolish in a conspiracy hat nut job if you think that somehow Detroit, even though they did close negotiations when they chose to close negotiations, think that Detroit just said, you know what, we want the Dodgers to win another World Series. If you believe that, then you're a moron.
I don't believe that at all.
All right.
I don't know what was offered and what they chose to accept.
Well, we know what they chose to accept. But yeah, I don't know. Clearly it wasn't better than what the package, like from their end of things, their viewpoint. Again, everyone has their own viewpoints, right? Like Milwaukee maybe doesn't have a potential minor league pitcher. Like their top guys are mainly hitters. Maybe they don't have the pitcher that fits into River Ryan, and Logan Henderson was a guy who was on the big league club that his name was been brought up. Maybe they didn't want to do the guy in the big leagues, but they didn't have the minor league pitcher to fit. But again, I talked with you off the air. Pitchers sometimes can be way more high variance. You're better off just taking hitters if you can get them. It's 10 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, and AM 740 Orlando Sports Leader. The Athletic has released their quarterback tiers. Where does your team's quarterback rank? We'll discuss it next.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1 Forrest 1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CV's dad joke of the day.
That's so great. Got my liquid death. I'm ready to make you laugh today, Todd.
I wish you were ready yesterday to make me laugh.
I thought it was a great joke yesterday.
It was one of the poorer ones.
Well, we'll stick with the baseball theme here.
Okay.
What do you call a crab that plays baseball?
A crab that plays baseball. What do you call it?
A pinch hitter.
Better than yesterday. All right. I'll give you a passing grade and give you a C on that one.
A pinch hitter.
Little Beastie Boys to wake you up?
Never liked the Beastie Boys.
No?
Nope.
I wasn't like a diehard fan, but there's definitely something appealing about their sound. I like their hits for sure.
Doesn't do anything for me.
Actually, it's funny that we're playing Beastie Boys. I saw a video the other day where someone put a Beastie Boys song to the Muppets. It's hilarious. It was really good. It was really good. Nothing like seeing Beaker rap like the Beastie Boys. 50857 songs that bring you back to your childhood as we're getting ready to go back to school, back to camp, training camps, etc. Marc Daniels will join us coming up. Matt Rochelle to follow, so a very busy hour. Every year, The Athletic does it. Their quarterback tiers, how 50 executives and coaches rank 35 veteran quarterbacks. Have you looked at the list, CV?
Yes, I have it up here.
Okay. Well, I guess quizzing you you'd be cheating. You have a cheat sheet in front
Yes.
of you.
I don't agree with number one.
All right. So I was going to ask you, how do you feel about Patrick Mahomes still being number one?
He's not. He's not anymore. The Chiefs had a losing record with him before he got hurt last season. I get we want to keep the memory of great Patrick Mahomes alive, but he's getting older. The Chiefs are getting older. Travis Kelce's probably playing his last season.
We've been saying that for a few years.
The dynasty is over. They're done. They're done.
Yeah, I think I'm fascinated to see if they can make a second version of it, a second fit, because they clearly went through a reset, moving off of Watson and McDuffie, and they've gone really young in what they did in the draft, Mansour Delane, and the youth on the defense,
but they still don't ever
Kenneth Walker. Are they going to go more run heavy this year?
It's not that they don't address the receiver spot, but they are horrible at drafting receivers.
Yeah, they haven't been good. You're not wrong. They've been patchworking it together. And frankly, Patrick Mahomes has probably been the one making it work. And now that Kelsey is not Kelsey anymore, and he hasn't been for a couple of years, it's a little tougher. He's still really great. I don't necessarily argue with that. I imagine that almost every team on this list, in fact, it's Allen. The top tier one is Mahomes, Allen, Stafford. Allen and Stafford were tied in the voting, and Burrow was fourth. I'm guessing once you get after that, if you were to put truth serum in every other general manager in the league, they would trade for Mahomes. Money aside, just money would factor in, I guess, at some point. But money aside, I think 5 all the way down, and Lamar Jackson's 5, they would do a clean swap for Mahomes. The other teams, they might say yes, but obviously, even Stafford, he's might be playing his last year. So that might factor in, but they would probably say no. But
I'm not denying that Patrick Mahomes is still great.
Where would you put him then?
I would put him top 4.
Okay,
probably.
So you're with me then. The worst you would put him is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't agree with Joe Burrow at 4 either.
Why not? Injuries?
Yeah. You're no good to a team if you're on the sidelines.
So good though when he's on the field.
But he's not on the field. That's the thing.
Well, Lamar's been on the field less. He's 5. How far are you going to drop down Joe Burrow? Because right now, I'll just tell you guys in the listening audience, Lamar Jackson's 5, Herbert 6, Dak is 7.
Don't get me started on Justin Herbert.
Drake May is 8. Jared Goff is tied for 8, and Jordan Love is 10. Okay, that's the top 10. So where are you dropping Burrow to in your mind? If injuries are such a factor,
he's still top 10.
Okay. I mean, would you put him down at 10, or you put him somewhere? Would you put him below Dak?
I'd probably put him right above Dak.
So you'd put him 6?
Let's go 7.
7.
I'll put him 7.
So
I
you
guess
put
below
Dak ahead of him.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, each their own. It gets fascinating though, because 11, there's a tie between Purdy and Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels is 13. So that's where you see sort of that youth of May is 8, Caleb 11, Daniels 13. Odd or not odd that Baker and Sam Darnold are tied at 14 from the same draft class.
I'd put both those guys above Jaden Daniels.
Jalen Hurts is 17. I'll let Colin Cowherd talk about that for 30 minutes.
Can we stop making excuses for Justin
Trevor
Herbert?
Lawrence is 16.
Can we stop making excuses for Justin Herbert? Why does he always get love?
I think because he is talented. And look, if there's anybody driving the Chargers bandwagon bus this year, and I'm not cheering for them, but I think they're going to be really good because their offensive line is going to be so much better this year. I think Herbert could be an MVP candidate.
Don't we say that almost every year about him though? He's got the big
Uh,
arm, he's
I-
got the size, the mobility, and yet no, it's never all put together.
I know, but if there's that foundation that you believe in, then you believe in it.
By the way, he's never won a playoff game.
I know that. That's okay.
I don't understand.
I think he will this year. How about that? I'll put that out
Okay.
there. Put it in the atmosphere.
Sure.
And by the way, it won't be him. It'll be his team that wins the playoff game. Because quarterbacks don't win them all by themselves. Bo Nix is 18. Rodgers is still
that is ridiculous.
Rodgers is still that Bo Nix is that high or that low?
That low.
He's been really good the last few years. Well, who are you jumping him over? You jumping over Baker, Darnold, Lawrence, Hurts?
Both, yes.
Really?
All. Jaden Daniels, yes.
Wow, you would take Bo Nix over Jaden Daniels?
Give me Bo Nix over Caleb Williams. Give me Bo Nix over Jordan Love.
What?
What do you mean what?
Bo Nix.
What do you mean what?
That was like you just telling me you wash your hair with soap instead of
No,
shampoo.
no,
What?
it's not.
So Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback for you, is what you
Yes.
just said. Wow.
Yes. How is he not?
Wow. Because I think Bo Nix needs the great coordinator. I think Bo Nix needs the weapons around him. I think he's athletically gifted, but I don't think he is. I'm not sure maybe he's better than Hurts. I'm not sure he's better than anyone in front of him.
So you would take Jaden Daniels over Bo Nix?
Yes.
You would take Caleb Williams over Bo Nix?
100%.
Jordan Love?
Yes, they're pretty close. Love and him are pretty close.
Baker Mayfield?
I would move Love down personally. Baker's interesting. If you, that's a good question. If you put Baker in Denver, would Denver be better off? Probably. I think I would take Baker ahead of him.
That's insane. That is insane to me.
I think Bo Nix would be less functional in Tampa too. So yeah, I think I would take Baker ahead of him.
Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I would take Darnold ahead of him.
Wow.
Darnold hasn't done enough to prove himself here.
We disagree greatly then.
Okay.
Wow.
That's your biggest, stand on a hill, plant your foot, flag plant here is Bo Nix.
Either Bo Nix or Justin Herbert.
Where would you put Herbert then? I didn't know how far down you're moving Herbert. We didn't get into that.
Justin Herbert.
Quickly, because I want to get to Mark here.
Let's go. I'd put him 15.
So you drop him substantially, 9 spots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't get the love for him.
I mean, just use your eyes. He's really talented. They've won a lot of games. They haven't won the playoff game yet.
What was it? 28-0? Jacksonville game, playoffs, choked away.
Right.
All we do is make excuses for him.
I'm not making any excuses. I'm not ranking him number 1. They have him ranked 6th.
I don't understand.
I knew this would get you fired
I
up.
don't understand it.
Tua, by the way, is ranked 26th. Malik Willis is ranked 29th. So you can chew on that as well. We might revisit this a little bit later. Marc Daniels will join us from the road in Manhattan coming up next here on the Beat of Sports.
Utah, Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma. From somewhere else in the country, let's welcome the host of the Beat of Sports as a guest on his own show. Here's Marc Daniels.
Via Sports, Mike Tuck in for Mark, Chris Vasquez, and now joining us from NYC, Mr. Marc Daniels. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you? Happy
terrific.
Tuesday morning.
Yeah. How's the city that never sleeps treating you?
Today it's gorgeous in New York. Yesterday we had a little bit of rain and it got out of here probably late afternoon. This morning got out, not a cloud in the sky, probably about 72 and
Nice.
low humidity and everything. So the hustle and bustle of the city is great today. Beautiful day.
How is the city reacting to the flurry of moves that the Yankees and Mets made?
Well, the only talk in town here, Mike, is Justin Herbert 6th in the quarterback rankings. Hope you guys spent. You guys spent some time. Yeah, Chris gets on the phone to me. He's like angry. I'm like,
It
what's wrong?
makes no sense.
Just got to fight with talk about.
Yeah,
quarterback
no.
rankings.
Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback for him, too.
He is a top 10
he was
quarterback.
really fired up.
You know what's actually go back to your question, and I think we do this every year, but it just shows you, like in New York, nobody cares about the Protect College Sports Act. In New York, nobody cares about the opening of college football camp.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just it's funny that depending on where you are in the country, in New York, it's is Aaron Judge coming back at all this year. In New York, it's the big story that I was watching the Yankee pregame show that Giancarlo Stanton jogged in the outfield, but he's not ready to run the bases. Which, and then what moves do the Yankees make? And they're calling up their top prospect today. And then it's a little bit about, the Giants are opening camp and the Jets are opening camp. Those are the bigger stories in the Northeast part of the country. And the same deal in Boston with the Red Sox. So it's funny sometimes that we obsess with college football and all the stuff going on there. And then if you drop yourself in this part of the woods, they couldn't tell you anything about college football and anything going on there.
Yeah, no, it's fun that the passions change depending on where you are in America. Earlier today and even yesterday, KV brought up the 49ers practice field and the electrodes that are sabotaging players. And Chris brought this up yesterday. And it's like, I don't know what to do with the tin hat people with this thing. But when I see lists and Kyle Shanahan, who was in a car accident, is on the list, I feel like that disqualifies you right away.
Yeah, like if you've got Niners injuries power plant in your search on your computer, I don't know, but there's always theories. I mean, for years, even before the most recent complaints about the turf at MetLife where the Giants and Jets played, there was always a thought about the chemicals that are buried beneath the stadium that was there before.
Right.
I don't know. I think people go searching. I mean, I love a good conspiracy theory. I do think there's something into strength and conditioning programs, your training staff. I don't profess to be an expert in that category, but not everybody teaches the same thing the same way. I mean, I would say quietly, but the Magic cleaned house when it came to their staff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really changed why? Because guys keep getting injured, and you kind of wonder. And that's not questioning somebody's medical degree and license and so forth. It's just like, maybe we just got to switch it up. Maybe the philosophy we've had on how to rehab athletes and what we're doing doesn't work. Maybe San Francisco needs to kind of reevaluate that because it does seem like there's a string of things happening. I don't think the Shanahan has anything to do with it.
Well, yeah, George Kittle was on there who ruptured his Achilles in Philadelphia last year. I mean, that made the list. So.
Yeah, but he had the chemicals in him from practice.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes, of course.
You don't just get that out of your body in a day or two or something.
Gotcha.
Like yeah.
Gotcha. I didn't know how that worked. I'm not up on the science on that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man. Let's see what else I want to bring. Oh, USC Notre Dame. They've renewed their rivalry. It's a bummer they're not actually going to play until 2030, but I guess cooler heads prevailed and they put something together. I wish this happened more often in college athletics. I feel like it might happen less, though, that we've expanded the slate of conference games moving forward for some conferences, the SEC most notably.
Well, it is happening less. The number of contracts that have been canceled in the last couple of weeks and months is not good if you're a college football fan that likes these rivalries. I'm glad that USC and Notre Dame have found dates that can renew. The other underlying story is it is what Indiana's done. It is an absolute it's a joke.
Yes, it is.
But until the playoff committee penalizes a team from, I guess, the Big Two, maybe the Power Four, particularly the Big Two, unless they decide someone doesn't make the playoffs because the non-conference schedule was so weak, we haven't seen an example of that yet. And I hope that day comes, because that is only going to make schools kind of reevaluate their decisions regarding these games. And Kurt Cignetti made it clear when he got to Indiana about not just change the program, but he wanted these games off the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't want them. And he'll say that, hey, we play 9 games in the best league in the country, and that should be good enough. But I mean, it's North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky this year to start the season for 3 straight weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, it's Kennesaw State, Indiana State, UMass to start the season. The following year, it's Austin Peay, Eastern Michigan, and Miami. The following year is Ball State, East Illinois, and Western Kentucky. The next 4 seasons, those are their first 3 games. And until somebody penalizes that, why should they not play a schedule like that? And you could say, well, it's not exciting to fans. And by the way, all of those are home. None of those games are on the road.
Mm-hmm.
None.
Right.
But until you hold it against him, and now he's reached a point he doesn't need it.
Well,
because
you don't need it until you need it. I think that's the thing when it comes to stuff like that, is if you go 10-2, then that it might come back to bite you in the butt. But if you're losing one game, or you're going, like Texas is the great example from last year with the Ohio State loss on their ledger. Their claim is, if we played nobody, we'd be 10-2. But then the argument against them is, hey, you didn't dominate games the way, say, Indiana, I know it's not an even comparison, dominated games. You didn't barely win games against bad clubs in Mississippi State and Kentucky. That also reflects poorly on you beyond what the record is and beyond that one non-conference game you scheduled. So I think you would agree there's like layers to this that should matter when it actually needs to matter, when we're talking and splitting the differences between 2 and 3 lost teams.
I agree. I'm just looking at Texas, and even though Steve Sarkisian said it in Tampa, the SEC media days, the Notre Dame schedule, which is at Notre Dame in 28, home in 29, he says we'll see. At least for now, they do play Ohio State at home this year, and then next year they play Michigan at home. So at least I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But the Big Ten right now does not require a non-conference Power 4 game. The Big 12 does.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the case of UCF, sometimes it's 11 Power 4 games, but this year it's the game at Pitt with 9 conference games. But the Big Ten doesn't require it, and Cignetti at the moment is king, so he kind of gets his way. But until your fans push back on it.
Yeah, right.
And it is scheduled at smart, which they did the first 3 weeks of the season. Everyone's excited when the year begins, and then you get yourself ranked, and then you kind of live with that, and then you get into the meat of the schedule. But until your fans start pushing back on it, I guess they'll keep doing it, because in some years they're going to play 8 home games. So
yeah, and I may in some ways that is the rationale to expand it on behalf of the teams that actually are scheduling up, because we'd want to encourage scheduling up, right? Expanding the playoffs so that, from the fans' point of view, as a Miami fan, I'd love the fact they played Florida and Notre Dame out of conference last year. Like, that's awesome. That's much more entertaining than a game against Austin Peay where you're expected to put 70 on the board. Like, that's not fun for anybody.
Right, but I just think we always need to remind ourselves the committee is human. And in the end, they tend to fall back on the same lazy tendencies and habits of those that were before them, where we feed into the media machine during the week. A small number next to somebody's name in other polls makes me think that I should have a similar number, and it's the way it is. And if you lose and you have to drop, if you win, you have to move up. I mean, I wish we did have teams that didn't mind challenging themselves in the middle of a conference schedule. If you went on the road and you played 4 tough quarters and you lost by a field goal, You're not penalized. You're like, that's a really good game and a really, challenging schedule. And come the end of the season, I'm going to carry more weight with that than the 3 games Indiana played in September.
Right.
But until the committee shows that, I mean, there's no indication of them changing the habits of those before them.
Real quick before I let you go, I didn't ask you this yesterday. Thoughts on Urban Meyer getting inducted into the Ring of Honor in Florida?
Yeah, I think to some degree time heals wounds. The further we get away from the things that really sting us, the swelling goes down and you kind of get over it. I'm not shocked by it because, again, the initial pain of something ticks people off. The exit really hurt Florida because of how Urban, I think, mentally broke down, and then the supposed rest turned into the Ohio State job. I think that bothered people, but I think in time it heals. One thing I'll say, and I'm not saying it's a defense of everything Meyer did because he has his flaws. He never talked negatively about Florida, and I don't think that was to protect his induction into some a hall or anything like that. I just think he, like a lot of coaches, some are smart, knowing don't burn bridges, and even though they may not like me, so from that standpoint, I think the last few years healed some wounds. He spends time in the state. He speaks highly of it. He likes Sumrall. I think that helps.
Yeah.
And he's been back. It's not like he hasn't been back before. And let's not kid ourselves. A lot of these things, it's marketing. It's good for fans. It sells tickets. It rallies up a fan base. And a lot of Hall of Fames are all about that. So I'm not shocked by it. Florida's riding a nice honeymoon wave with a new coach and a good vibe. And so I'm not shocked by that.
All right. Enjoy your day in the city today, Mark.
Guys. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Mark Daniels from Vacation Spot visiting up. Sounds like a lovely day in Manhattan.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it really does. That's when you're a little envious. You get to this time of the year and it's still scorching hot out here, and it's like temperatures. I mean, my dad was telling me they're up visiting my sister in Tennessee. It's like they're getting lows in the 50s last week. It's like what?
That's
In July you're getting lows in the 50s? That's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, highs in the 70s. Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Florida,
it does
why do you
flip
have
when
to-
you get to December and we're wearing shorts and
I
they're
don't care.
bundled in parkas at that
I want
point.
the snow.
Yeah, but do you want the ice and scraping the ice off your windshields and all that comes with it?
Well, I haven't done it yet, so I can't
You don't.
neither confirm nor deny that I
But, tires, you have to take care of that. Like, it's a big mess. All right, UCF practice underway. Matt Murschel was there yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on that and the Save College Athletics Act that's out there. Cristobal's deal. We'll talk to him next.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company.
Green inside.
Let's tackle the latest news from UCF and around the world of college football with the Orlando Sentinel's very own Matt Murchell.
Give him the Heisman now.
Hit up Matt on Twitter at @OSMattMurchell.
Mike Tucker for Mark Daniels, who is vacationing in New York this week. Chris Vasquez here as well. Matt, hopefully no sunburn. Although you might have needed a poncho yesterday. I don't know. Did it rain on you guys yesterday out at UCF?
No, it didn't actually. It was a bright, sunny day. It didn't rain until actually after practice and after we got done talking to Scott Frost and some of the players.
Excellent. That's good to hear. So what's old is new again, and Scott Frost is back. You would expect some familiarity a year ago, but what was day one of year two like watching a Scott Frost practice?
Well, I think this is a team that's a lot more comfortable where it's at right now than it was last year. You know, I think that you could see that there's a lot of the players themselves know what they need to do. You know, they're not being screamed at constantly by coaches trying to tell them how to run drills properly or how to practice properly. This is a team that's a lot more mature, understands what needs to be done. It's kind of taken upon itself to try to do some things to make sure that they can find some success. And Scott himself even said after practice that, you know, I feel much more comfortable this time around than I did last year at this time. And he seems more confident, you know, and looking at what they need to do. There's still work that needs to be done. Obviously, they've got a month before the season starts, September 3rd against Bethune-Cookman. But, you know, Alonzo Barnett III was on the field practicing. That was a good sign since we didn't see him at all pretty much through spring camp. So, and there was only a few minor bumps and bruises for some of the players. So at this point, you know, everything's good and positive and on track for UCF moving forward.
May not be a lot to glean in just seeing him out there, but what did you see in Alonzo Barnett actually taking snaps?
Well, you can see why, you know, UCF went after him. You know, he's a guy that's got a lot of confidence. He's got, you know, 2-year starter at James Madison. He was the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, you know, Offensive Player of the Year last year, led the team to the college football playoff spot, you know, and a matchup against Oregon. You kind of see those traits, the strong arm, the mobility. You saw some of those things yesterday. It was a little rusty at the beginning, and Frost and Alonzo both mentioned that, you know, coming back, you know, you're a little bit of rust, but, you know, you start to shake that off. He was able to make some plays. He's excited to be here. He wants to lead UCF to the next step. Feels like they've got the pieces to make that move. Scott talked about his leadership role. You know, that's something that this team lacked a little bit last year. Was they need a voice. They need a voice on that offensive side of the football that can basically go in the huddle and get everyone together and say, this is what we're going to do. They really didn't have that last year. And I think having Alonzo, who's got that experience, I think that's going to be huge for them, because the quarterback position has been their weakest position over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, I think I was writing this the other day. They had 6 starters over the last 24 games.
Wow.
And that's just not good. I mean, you have teams that win championships necessarily have one guy doing it. So I think that's what UCF really needs to focus on, is keeping Alonzo upright and making sure that he can continue to do the things he did over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's a really complex sport, and yet pretty simple sometimes when you look at, like, Georgia as an example. Like, it's Gunnar Stockton, and it's Gunnar Stockton, and it's one guy consistently over years, and you tend to have more success when that's the case, if you find the right guy to fit that role. You wrote about raising the standard in the Orlando Sentinel, and that's what the team wants to do this year. It obviously makes sense coming off a 5-7 season that's not what is expected or acceptable. But for a guy who had success previously, sometimes going back and doing the same thing again just doesn't work. You have to come up with new tricks, new toys, new ways of doing things. The sport's even Nick Saban evolved as the sport evolved. So what is the evolution of Scott Frost 2.0 here as we go into year 2?
Well, I think the first thing is Scott has always said, you know, don't look back at what we did in 2017 and expect that to happen again, you know, right away. Because I think that's something that fans thought, oh, year 2, you know, look what happened. He did year 2 the first time around. I just don't think that's so much has changed, you know, with college athletics, with the transfer portal, with NIL, with revenue sharing. You know, things are different now, you know. But one of the things that Scott was asked about yesterday was, you know, about, you know, how can you get better? How can you look at things, maybe look at like a situation at Indiana with Kirk Cignetti, what he was able to do in a short period of time? You know, do you look at those kind of situations? Do you look outside the program, maybe to study other programs to see how things are going? And Scott said, yeah, you know, that's something we're always looking at, is how can we get better? How can you look at other things that maybe can help you get to that next step. And I think they've done a lot of that over the last year. I think being a little more comfortable, having more guys come back this year, having returning starters was a big help for them. I think for Scott, it's about fixing some things, offensively. They struggled at times offensively last year. This was nowhere near the Scott Frost offense that we saw in 2016 and 2017, and they'd like to get back to that. So they're going to have to find ways to fix that. They brought in some pieces they feel like can help them out, not just players, but also on the coaching staff as well. So I think Scott understands that this is going to be a big step for them. Now, when I mean big step, I'm not talking winning the Big 10 champion or the Big 12 championship. I'm talking about, maybe getting to a bowl game, obviously, or getting to 7 or 8 wins. You've got to take steps, I think, in this process, and they feel like they've got the pieces to do that right now.
This will be much easier to answer a week from now, but I'll ask it today because I'm sure fans want to know is what did you see yesterday as far as maybe who stood out on day one?
I think who stood out to me, I mean, we only get 20 minutes. It's really hard sometimes and what we see is a lot of just and not as a lot of drills and things like that. You don't really necessarily get to see some of the stuff. But I think one of the things that stands out to me is I think this is a team that's going to be much better, at the running back position in some ways. I think they brought in a lot of young talent, guys maybe unproven, Duke Watson, Landon Chambers, and the guys who maybe still have to prove themselves. Taven Swint's a guy who came back, a local guy who's back, returned from last year. He's going to help that running back group. I think the wide receiver group is a lot stronger than it was. Dwayne Thomas Jr. is back. Waden Charles is back. Josh Derry, who's a transfer they brought in from Monmouth, has been just phenomenal. And I think a guy that's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. And then I think defensively, this secondary brought back 4 starters. And it's a group that is experienced. It's older. It understands exactly what it's going to need to do. So I think those really kind of were quick standouts to me. Now, again, we're talking about, in a week or two, how some of that may change. We're going to get to watch a full practice on Saturday. So I'll get a better chance maybe to see who stands out and maybe who's a guy that will be elite going into the season.
Matt Murschel, Orlando Sentinel College Football, UCF Knights reporter, joining us here on the Beat of Sports. Mike Tuck for vacationing Mark Daniels. To switch gears to a couple of other items, Urban Meyer going into the Ring of Honor at Florida. What are your initial thoughts upon hearing that?
It doesn't shock me because, again, what he did at Florida. I mean, obviously, when you win championships, you're going to get your name in the Ring of Honor. Now, could you put an asterisk on that ring? Maybe, like next to his name. I mean, there's all sorts of things that follow with that. I mean, the stuff that followed Urban after he left Florida, I just don't think that, but I think, when you look at Florida history, I think Urban is right up there. I mean, he's going to be right up there with Steve Spurrier. We talk about coaches and all that. So he'll probably get a lot of cheers, obviously, for what he's been able to do, but it's when you look at it, there was always some issues. There were always some flawed points about what his time at Florida, how things ended, how he came back. It's such an amazing story when you go back and look at it. I was around when that happened, and I think to myself now, years later, just that feels like decades ago. It feels really so long ago that and he's still there. He's still a polarizing figure. So it doesn't shock me so much, but I think there'll be some people who really love it, and there'll be some people who kind of shake their head when it's finally done.
Yeah, the reaction on the 7th when Oklahoma's in town will be interesting to hear from the crowd. We'll be listening very closely to see what that reaction's like. From one coach with championships to another one trying to win championships, Miami has rewarded Mario Cristobal with a big extension. Not so much about the extension because you knew that was going to happen based on what he's done, but how do the last 4 years tell you what you think the next 4 years are going to be like for that program and him?
Well, I think Mario did a great job of, early on when he first got there. I think there were some struggles. I think he was trying to get, the program where he felt like it needed to be, and they just weren't reaching that peak. I think the last couple of years, last 3 or 4 years, I think they've done a good job of adjusting. You look at how they've handled recruiting. They've done a really good job of recruiting again, bringing a lot of local talent in from the state and outside the state. You look at how they've done with the transfer portal. They brought in, good quarterbacks. Cam Ward came in, and, you look at some of the other quarterbacks that they've brought in. I think they're starting to find kind of their rhythm and their blueprint of what they want to do to build this team. Now, getting to where they got last year, that was a huge accomplishment for them. And I think that really bought him a lot more time than maybe he would have been if they had gotten to that position. But I think, again, the payoff is going to be you've got to win a title, right? You've got to go out and win that title. So, do they have enough pieces this year? The defense took a big hit, losing a lot of players to the NFL. They brought in some transfers and some recruits. That's going to be the key over the next couple of years is, can they continue that, that pipeline? Can they continue to build those rosters and be competitive? The ACC is not as challenging as it was over the last couple of years. Clemson's nowhere near as dominant as it used to be. Florida State obviously is on the downward slide. It's not where it's dominant. This is a perfect opportunity for Miami to make its case to get back there and remain there for a while. So they've got to find a way to win some conference championships and to really kind of stake their claim to this conference, because it's a wide open race right now.
Yeah, no, talent acquisition has never been an issue. I made note earlier, when you look at that first recruiting class, even though they had a losing record, to get CeCe Mawanoa, Mark Fletcher, and Ruben Bain, that was the foundation in which last year's team was built, no question. And he's continued to been able to do that. And like, you're right. I mean, the next 4 years, I think everyone expects them to, and it's hard to win championships, but I think that is the expectation with one of these teams. And we'll see if it's this year's team, which offensively looks terrifying, maybe like the Cam Ward team from a couple of years ago. The Save College Sports Act has now been pushed forward by the SEC in the Big Ten. We will wait this week to see if they actually pass it in the Senate or even vote on it, for that matter, before they go on their hiatus for more than a month. But a Denver judge, I said it's like trying to run a three-legged race yesterday. It's like, hey, we're trying to move forward, but man, does it look clumsy and awkward, and there's always something that's an obstacle, it feels like, in the way. A judge has basically said, you know what, forget about that whole 5-year thing. Everyone that was out, it can be back in now. So it complicates things. So I don't even know what the question is. It feels like it's nothing but questions, but where do you think we are a week from now with what we're trying to do in college football with at least the basics here?
Well, I think the Protect College Sports Act is a big piece of what, the NCAA and what the schools want to have happen. They want some sort of guardrails in place. They want to avoid all this litigation. I mean, listen, this has been a mess in the last, few years of just everybody jumping in court, suing, the NCAA and suing schools and trying to find ways to get extra eligibility. And, obviously the district court judge in Colorado, on Saturday, basically allowing the class of 2022 athletes additional year of eligibility throws everything out of whack. I mean, we were at UCF yesterday. We asked Scott Frost. They've got a couple of former players that this would benefit them. They have guys that could come back. And Scott told us, hey, I don't even know what's going on here. I don't know what, we haven't even figured this all out. And, right away when that verdict came out, there were people who were thinking, oh, look how this is going to impact our program. We're going to get these players back. It's going to be great. But as I said to people, it's not that easy. Think about this with basketball. You've already got a roster put together. You've Johnny Dawkins at UCF, for instance. You've already got your 15 spots filled out. Let's say you now can get a guy to come back. Now you're going to have to either get rid of a guy and boot him and lose the money on that deal, or you're going to have to figure out some other way to make that work. And it's just so challenging. And the football side of things, you bring in a guy now. Is he ready to go? Has he been working out? Has he been, ready to step on the field? And let's say he can't step on the field for another couple of weeks. Do you really think that guy's going to be much of a help for you this year? So it can be a challenge, and I think so. This is where that act really is something that I think a lot of schools want to kind of get better understanding of. But even then, it's still not even close to being done. I mean, they have a chance to vote this week in the Senate. It's still got to go through the House. And if it goes to the House for a vote, more than likely there'll be more revisions to it. I mean, even if this thing gets signed, it's going to be an issue where, it may take a while for all this to kind of come down, and you're still going to have lawsuits going on. So it's just a mess right now. And I joked with a coach the other day that I really wish I had studied law in school, because I really feel like I spent more time this summer, studying, cases like that. And it's frustrating for fans. And I get this all the time from fans. I don't want to talk about the lawsuits. I don't want to talk about it, but it's part of what we're doing right now. And it's unfortunately, unless we get collective bargaining at some point, I'm just not sure how this is all going to kind of wind up and end up working for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's 100% the truth. Like it is boring. It's the reason we got into sports, is to actually, when September, we talk about the games and the action, and that's what we prefer to do. Even the coaching changes and stuff like that is its own sort of, all right, I guess I'll have to do that. But when we get into like even the political side of it and the aspect of why nothing gets pushed through is they're trying to do too much with one thing, simple would work here, right? And that's part of what has made it reach where it's reached right now. It's like, let's cut out the fat. Let's just meat and potatoes this thing and see if we can put something. And even then, someone swoops in with a judge and is trying to, resurrect the dead. And like you said, you think about who you can bring back in, but you're forgetting about who actually has to move off, and those kids are affected as well. So it's not a perfect setup. There's no question about it.
No, and it impacts high school recruiting. It impacts, all
Yes,
these things.
yeah.
I mean, and you get to the point now where, you get players wondering, am I gonna, listen, if you're a school that boots somebody to bring someone in, that's a bad look. That means, like, okay, no one can trust you now. What's going on? So, I tell people, I've been telling people all this the last couple of years, if you're hoping the government comes in and swoops in and does this quickly, you're wrong on this, because it's so hard. That's why the reason why the Big Ten and the SEC and these big conferences have spent a lot of money on lobbying and getting lobbyists, because they want to find a way to make this work. But it can be swung so easily. If the Big Ten and the SEC don't want to do something, they can swing it the other way. So it's a challenge for sure.
Makes you miss talking about college football playoff expansion, doesn't it?
Very much so. Very much
conference
so.
realignment, even. I'll take conference realignment.
I'll take conference realignment any day now, to be honest with you. So.
Matt Murschel, buddy, it's always a pleasure talking with you. Stay dry, stay hydrated out at UCF practice.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care, Mike.
Yep. Matt Murschel. Read his work at the Orlando Sentinel, orlandosentinel.com, of course. Great stuff up there, detailing everything going on at UCF as we go from summer to fall. The news is next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes. Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR, HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740, Orlando's sports leader. Mike Tuck and Chris Vasquez here with you this morning. Let's get to the news. Let's start in college football, where USC and Notre Dame are renewing their rivalry. Not this year, unfortunately. They will not face each other, but in 2030, they will start up a home-and-home series that will span at least 4 years. Too late, but, better than nothing, I suppose.
I was gonna say, well, it's like we were texting yesterday, better late than never.
Yeah, so a little disappointing. And look, that's to me the engine for college athletics. I mean, rivalries, that's what fans want to see. Mark brought it up earlier with Indiana's schedule. Yes, it sucks, but it sucks for the fans too. Like, yeah, you want to see your team win, but do you want to go into a game just expecting to win by 50, or do you actually want to go there to be entertained and go, this is going to be fun today, a good challenge? Like, to me, that's what being a fan's all about.
Well, that's the one thing I've always kind of had issues with college football is a majority of your schedule is pretty much the same games every single year. And yes, we do the same in the NFL where you have your 6 division games.
Right.
But the other 11, those are different divisions every year.
Mm-hmm.
And, depending on where you line up, your odd game.
Right. You're playing every team in the league at least once every 4 years,
where,
and usually more often than that.
Where college football, you have your 3 cupcakes and then your conference schedule.
Well, Indiana is the exception. I mean, everyone else, for the most part, is, and Mark said it, the Big Ten's not mandating it. So USC, clearly is one of those programs going, hey, we got to play 9 conference games. We'd rather not have to play another team that can beat us, like Notre Dame, which is, to me, a terrible way to look at it. I mean, it just...
That's how all these guys, especially in the SEC, that's how they look at it.
No, that's not really fair. They're eliminating the gimme weekend. Like, that's not... And but, by the way, every other conference was just doing that at the beginning of the year as opposed to the second to last weekend of the season. And look, if you look up and down, SEC, everyone's pretty much the same. Most teams are playing at least one Power 4. Some are playing 2. Usually the one gimme game is a G5 team in most cases.
We need to...
Like I said it, like as a Miami fan, I was super stoked. They got to play Florida and Notre Dame last year, and USF was the third of 4 non-conference games. One gimme. It's usually alternating between BCC and Florida A&M and whatever, right? But that's the game again. It's like, all right, sit around and watch some of this, and then at the end of the first quarter, you feel pretty good that the win's locked in and you can move on with your life. So anyway, Notre Dame USC renewing. Mario Cristobal gets an extension from Miami. Numbers are not disclosed because Miami's a private university, so someone will snoop and figure that out. But I'm sure he's being paid amongst the best coaches in all of football. Bijan Robinson getting paid amongst the best players in all of football. He is now the top paid running back, a 3-year, $75 million extension. 51 of that is fully guaranteed for the Falcons running back.
And yet he's still not making the most guaranteed money among running backs. Do you know who is?
Most guaranteed money?
Most guaranteed money.
Jonathan Taylor.
Nope. Try a guy who's never played a snap in the NFL. That would be
Jeremiah Love. Okay.
Because of where he was drafted, he has more guaranteed money.
How much of his rookie deal is guaranteed?
I think it's all of it. He's got $53 million.
Is that what it is?
Fully guaranteed.
All right. Well,
so a guy who's never taken a snap in the NFL has more guaranteed money than the top paid running back.
I have argued for years very loudly, like the NFL, that's the beauty of it and the ugly part of it for the players. It's beautiful for us because it's easy to move on and move off of people when they stink or get hurt or whatever the case might be. It's a bad deal for the players, but there's nothing that's ever stopped them from getting guaranteed deals. And now we're seeing more and more money guaranteed. And in some cases, Deshaun Watson's contract's fully guaranteed, which is its own silliness. But in most cases, for the Stars, if Bijan Robinson stays healthy, and Jeremiah Love is on a rookie deal, like, you're never going to notice. Fernando Mendoza, you're never going to notice, right? Like, you'd almost expect that to be the case for those guys. Jahmyr Gibbs is now the lone back holding out. I think he'll get $1 more than Bijan Robinson. That's the deal. You go last, right? You end up making more. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's better or not. You can debate that with a wall if you want to. They're both awesome players, but that is what's out there. The Bears safety, Kobe Bryant, is out 8 to 10 weeks, hyperextended a knee yesterday. Not related to any power plants last I looked for Kobe Bryant, who spells his name with a C, in case you were wondering. Came over from the Seahawks in the offseason. Baker Mayfield wants to get paid. Here is Rick Stroud discussing how the negotiations went with the Tampa Bay quarterback in the front office.
Where the division came was, I think he started at 4 years. They went down. I believe the Baker side went down to 3. They felt like they gave a little bit there in terms of the length of the contract, but the Bucs never got there. They wanted a 2-year deal. Now, it's been reported that it was over $50 million a year. I'd like to see how much of that was guaranteed. The devil's in the details, but he felt like this is the way he wanted to go. And I know he said that they can't franchise him, or it wouldn't be, very palatable, maybe because of all the dead cap money. Believe me, they can, and they will. If he plays extremely well, this is a team that's carried sometimes 30, 40, $50 million in dead cap money before. It's not ideal, but they're not going to let Baker Mayfield walk out of here. And that's when it could really get contentious if he has a good year.
I get this from both sides. I really do.
There's no way the Bucs can franchise him next year if he balls out. There's no way.
It's all about your negotiation, right? Like, the same arguments could have been made in the past for other quarterbacks, whether they've worked. And Lawrence didn't work right away, but is working at least based on last year in Jacksonville. Tua worked okay initially and then obviously completely flamed out into a disaster in Miami. Kyler Murray didn't work out, for the variety of reasons it didn't work out. So these things can be argued either way, unless it's and again, injuries are their own, like Burrow you brought up earlier, right? But no one would debate Joe Burrow's not one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he's out there. Lamar Jackson, same thing. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he's out there. Josh Allen, those are easy. You just go, all right, how much do you want? Let's do a little negotiation, a little dance, and then that's that. It's when you get to this middle section of the Darnolds and the Bakers and all the other guys I just mentioned, where it becomes a little bit more complicated because you're not getting the elite difference maker, but you also know that without that guy, you're not going to win. And again, I get it from Tampa's side and being a little cautious here, and I also get it from Baker's side and feeling you've played to a level where you're worthy of a contract that is perhaps better than some other guys that have gotten paid.
And it wasn't played in this clip, but Rick Stroud did mention, and he was on with Ari Mirov.
Yeah.
He did mention that the Bucs do have a history of doing this. They did it with Mike Evans a few years ago. They've done it with Tristan Wirfs. So they have a history of, kind of negotiating like this and waiting till right before either the season starts or preseason starts. Baker put that self-imposed deadline of training camp.
I don't think Baker meant it this way. If you've heard Baker's comments from even like last week or whatever, the whole I felt disrespected thing, and they're telling me I'm afraid. I totally respect where he's coming from. And then I also would add 2 years, $100 million doesn't necessarily feel disrespectful. And there's a lot of people that are going to react to that with a negative reaction. And I totally understand that side of it too. It's it's not that bad. It's just like the franchise tag. Most players take it as an insult. In some cases, those guys are going to get paid more in that 1 year than they would deserve to be paid otherwise because the team doesn't want to work out or can't work out a long-term deal, and you get paid above where, you should be paid. So that, it's a sword that cuts both ways.
I do think should the Bucs have won the division last year and they didn't have that 2-7 stretch, their last 9 games, I think Baker Mayfield gets his contract this offseason. But I do think now you have a lame duck coach, a lame duck quarterback. Maybe the Bucs are thinking whoever we bring in, they probably don't want Baker. They're going to want their own guy. And I think that's also what's holding this up.
I totally can see that side of it as well. They're sort of stuck in the middle, and they may be going through a major change. And do you want to be attached to somebody that maybe you don't want to be attached to if you're going to make major changes? That will do it for the news. I've promised you a fantasy football segment each week. The 5 most fascinating running back situations that could determine whether or not you win your fantasy league this year, we will discuss next year on the Beat of Sports. 50857. You can text in the song that brings you back, whether you were 6 or 16, to your childhood. We're kind of having a reminiscing day with our Double Shot Tuesday, with back to camp, training camps, back to school next week in most places here in Florida. So,
What was your favorite year for first day back to school?
ooh, favorite year for first day back.
I'm pretty sure mine was just senior year in high school.
I would say it probably was, unless I was little and I don't remember being little, but maybe that happened. I was jazzed up to get back into third grade. I don't have that. I have a great memory. I don't have a memory of that specifically, but I would probably say off the top of my head, senior year to get it done, and senior year of football and all the rest for me. Yeah.
Oh, man, it does take me back.
Yeah. It feels like eons ago at this point.
2 years.
Another life.
2 years from now, 2028, it will be 20 years since I graduated high school.
It's funny you say that. Last week, July 29th, marked the 20-year anniversary of my first date with my wife.
Oh, nice.
20 years ago. And she forgot, by the way.
Ouch.
Yeah.
We always get grief for forgetting.
Oh, no, I am good. It helps in sports, but I am good with dates. I know birthdays. I know I'm really good with all that stuff. Yeah, 20 years.
Nice.
Crazy.
Did you make her feel bad?
No. There's no sense in doing that. You just remind her later when you mess up, and then you hold it over her head, and you're even.
Get the extra brownie points and stash them away.
Yeah, you put it in your back pocket, save it to when you need it, man. I didn't need it in the moment, so that's all right. That's all right. I tease her still because she was late to our first date. I thought I was being stood up. Yeah, no, she was late. Showed up late, 10 minutes late at least, because I was wondering if I got stood up. It all worked out. How about that? And you know what? She's still running late 20 years later, all the time. Anyway.
Well, you should have known.
I should have known. No one to blame but me on that one.
Yep.
I decided that was okay with me. All right, so I'm going to give you one of these. Tomorrow we're going to do some quarterbacks and some bold predictions. Today, the 5 running back situations that could make or break your fantasy season. All right?
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Let's go.
I don't know if it's any particular order, but I did sort of kind of rank it. So let's just start here in the state with Jacksonville.
Okay.
Travis Etienne, formerly Etienne, is gone.
Yep.
That's a lot of production out the door in Jacksonville, and a lot of faith into not high selections, but draft selections from a year ago in Bashal Tutin and in LaQuinn Allen, with very specific roles in mind for each of them. They also paid a fair amount, not Bijan Robinson amount, but a fair amount to bring in Chris Rodriguez, who has familiarity with Liam Cohen from his time at Kentucky when he coached him back in Kentucky. So there is an obvious connection there. This is a lot of yards, a lot of opportunity available in a lot of different areas for 3 guys. I think it's one of those where if you're shooting for the moon, I think Tutin's the shot you would take for the moon here.
Also, are we sleeping on Amir Abdullah? You think he makes the roster?
Maybe as a return man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what his role's been. It's a long time ago since he was a star at Nebraska. Yeah. Okay. That's it. That it's those, and Allen's clearly the pass catcher. That's the downside with Tutin. I think he has got great potential because he's got great sizzle at Virginia Tech. Man, he was a big play waiting to happen. But Allen was arguably the best pass catcher in all of the draft last year out of the tailback position. I think they're clearly going to use him in passing situations. So there's a limited upside there. Rodriguez might be the goal line back, which is also putting maybe a limited cap on Tutin. But
Tutin's got lofty expectations for himself this season. He's shooting for 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns. Those are his lofty expectations.
That would put him up in the top probably 5 of tailbacks.
Yes.
Not even probably, certainly.
I don't see that happening.
No? I have a feeling the other guys will eat away just enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll be the guy you want, but the other guys are going to eat away. Carolina, Rico Dowdle, former Cowboy, popped off back-to-back 200-yard games last year. The first one against my Dolphins. I'll remember that one very well.
Against my Cowboys.
He's out. Now, they already pushed him out. If you remember at the end of the season, even in the playoff game, Chuba Hubbard had reclaimed his role as the starter, or at least the guy they trusted the most there. So Chuba's back. And Jonathan Brooks, again, trying to come off an ACL, trying to rehabilitate his career. If you follow the press clippings from the fall here so far, the summer, he's looking pretty good. What's your feeling there?
Well, I think with the whole Rico Chuba situation, I do think Carolina, because they ended up paying Chuba Hubbard, they're kind of forcing it to him. And I do think that's going to continue this year. They want him to be the bell cow. They want him to have a majority of the touches. And it's going to be like, I would say, probably a 70-30 split between him and Brooks.
I think early it's going to definitely be Chuba. I do wonder if Jonathan Brooks is healthy, if he doesn't start to eat away. He's definitely the better pass receiver. They have a very good offensive line. I think Carolina is being slept on. More on that tomorrow. And
then again, Jonathan Brooks played 3 games last year.
I know.
So you don't have a big sample size of him in the NFL.
But they also invested a second-round pick in him. He was the first running back off the board a couple of years ago. So they definitely have high hopes there. Pittsburgh, they added Dowdle, but lost Gainwell, who was the team MVP a year ago, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You be the judge on that. He goes to Tampa. So they got Warren, the incumbent, and they got Dowdle coming in. You got McCarthy replacing Tomlin, but it's going to matter. Like, someone there is going to matter. It's just a matter of who's going to matter, or are they both going to cancel each other out?
I don't like this backfield at all. And I said it yesterday. I think Pittsburgh is going to be airing out the ball more. They brought in Michael Pittman. They have DK Metcalf.
So you would lean Warren, because it would seem like, at least on paper, Warren would go back when it was Najee Harris and him to being the pass receiver.
Yeah.
And Rodgers already showed an affinity to throwing it to Gainwell. I'm not saying he's as good as Gainwell, but I think your thought is where I am. Like, I would definitely go heavily to Warren here. And Dowdle's going to, he's going to get his first and he'll probably be the goal line back. Right? So he's going to have some value.
He could. I mean, he only had 1 less catch last year than Jalen Warren did.
But that's because Gainwell was the pass receiver.
No.
But if Dowdle, to your point, though, like, if Dowdle eats into some of that and it's not Gainwell's work going to Warren, then suddenly Dowdle might be the guy you want, because he's probably the guy more valuable on the goal line.
Dowdle, the last 2 years, 235, 236 carries, 1,079, 1,076 yards.
Yeah.
And then
He's
combined
steady.
8 touchdowns.
He's the unflashy middle round pick that you could lock in, maybe, especially if you go receivers early or tight ends, or like as your running back too, and feel pretty solid about it.
He could be a solid late round pick.
Washington. Now, they had quite a few changes. Chris Rodriguez out. McNichols still on the roster, but he's been pushed down, and I won't be surprised if he doesn't make the team. And Austin Eckler, remember, started on the team last year before he got hurt, and looks like his career's over at this point. They bring in Rachaad White from Tampa. They draft Katron Allen late in the draft out of Penn State. And obviously, they still have Bill, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in the backfield there.
He was solid. He was solid for them last year. God, that's so disgusting. and a lot of this is going to depend on the health of Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
So if he's healthy, you still stick with Bill Krosky-Merritt and feel okay about it. I'm not taking any of these backs anytime within the top 10 rounds.
No, but again, like, I'm bringing these up because they are complicated and they will matter. You do need to make the right decision on this. I think White's role is going to be White's role. I think if you're just looking for a bye-week fill-in and you want to hope that he catches 4 or 5 passes and gets a few carries, maybe scores a touchdown, then I think that's the guy you circle. But to me, Katron Allen is the guy that I think can be the guy that claims the backfield by the end of the year. That's where I'm investing my pennies. Like you said, it's a later round pick, but I'd rather do that, I think, than go after Bill. Bill's got some flash, but he's more flash than substance. Katron Allen's going to grind you out. I think he's going to be the goal line back. I think he's going to take Rodriguez's spot there. I think he'll have a role early in the season as well. And the last one. Well, let's move to the last one here, because I want to make sure we have time for on the mark and off the mark here, or tuck it, untuck it. Seattle. Now, this is maybe the most complicated, because literally we just crossed out K9. Walker's in Kansas City now.
Yep.
And Charbonnet is going to miss definitely most, if not all, the season. He hurt at the end of the year with that torn ACL. So that's a lot of yards for a backfield that was split for much of the year last year. Obviously, Jadarian Price is the draft pick they take out of Notre Dame, but they also got Emmanuel Wilson, who was very steady. As somebody who has been a Josh Jacobs owner in Dynasty, and also Emmanuel Wilson's a little thorn. He's 5 yards a pop kind of guy. And George Halani, who they like a little bit in the passing game as well. To me, this is one where it's sneaky, but I think on paper, Jadarian Price has a chance to actually be better than Jeremiah Love this year. Not that he's a better player, but the opportunity is very, very real that he could be, what'd you say earlier for Tootin, 1,516?
Yep.
Again, sometimes it's just the opportunity. I think Price might be a guy that is going in the 20s for running backs, but actually could give you back maybe a top 10 season.
So
it's a little scary, but I think it's very, very real. They invested in him,
They
like
did.
a real investment.
They did. He was what, the first pick in the second round or top? No, he was the last pick
pick
in
of the first round.
So he's going to get a bulk of the carries. We saw what the offense was last year. They ran the ball very well.
Right. And gave both guys. And now it's, again, like, I'm sure these other guys are going to mix in a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a Charbonnet K9 thing.
No, I don't think so either. And from what I'm reading, they like Jadarian Price right now in camp.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean,
yes, I know. It doesn't matter, but it's better than the other way, right?
But to that point, according to Albert Breer, this was back on the 28th, Charbonnet is a potential close call to be ready for week 1.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
Or he could be out till week 11.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be okay taking a flyer early, maybe mid-round on a Jadarian Price.
I'd move him up a couple of rounds. I'd be committed to that idea. I really would. If Charbonnet over the time starts, but again, you're coming off a major ACL. Like this is an opportunity out of the gate to take it and run and never look back.
Yeah, if Charbonnet's not ready for any amount of time, I'm not looking at any of these guys, George Halani or Emmanuel Wilson, to take any sort of significant snaps away from
not
Price.
a Charbonnet cut. No. That's my point. Is like they'll have moments, I'm sure, and you'll like any fantasy owner, you'll be mad when they have their moments. But I think it's a real opportunity that he's closer to a top 15 back than he is a top 25 back, in my opinion.
I would say Jadarian Price, you could shoot for, I'd give him 1,000 to 1,100 yards.
Oh yeah, I think comfortably.
Handful of touchdowns.
I think comfortably. Yeah. All right. Coming up. And I'm sure, I do have a feeling quarterback tiers might make their way into this, but we'll find out in a moment. Tuck it, untuck it, coming your way next year on the Beat of Sports.
It's a Tuesday staple on the beat of sports. On the mark, off the mark. Presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Bowegan's, recrafting perceptions.
On the mark, off the mark, or as we like to call it when Tuck fills in on Tuesdays, tuck it or untuck it. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
Big news over the weekend. Tarek Skubal going to the LA Dodgers. The odds-on favorite to win the World Series. Their odds just got better after the trade. Of course, people are up in arms that the Dodgers keep adding the big-name players, and for that reason, they believe that there should be a salary cap in baseball. I would come back and say I think people are really upset more at the deferred money aspect rather than what the Dodgers have already added to their roster now, being that there's over $1.1 billion in deferred money. But would you tuck it or untuck it if I said that Major League Baseball should look to limit the amount of deferred money rather than adding a salary cap?
I'm gonna untuck it, and as I tell my students at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, where I'm going to work here after today, when it comes to asking questions, sometimes when we ask a question positioned the way you do, it's really hard for the other person to answer. It's not about getting a yes or no, like I just gave you a no on that. It's that it's way more complex than that, and your description doesn't fit my way I'd want to answer that. And I would say fans' argument is fair. Like, just because I'm a Dodger fan doesn't mean I'm not a fan. And the fan of the sport says, no, it's not fair that the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees are spending way more, like 4 times as much money as the Marlins and the Rays and, the Orioles and Pirates and teams that are at the bottom. There needs to be some sort of a middle ground, some sort of fair playing field, but it's not just the top, it's the bottom, and it's bringing everybody closer together. So less for the top, more for the bottom, squish them together. If that's a cap, then it's a cap in some shape or form. And I think that's probably what's best for the sport, because currently the penalties, the luxury tax and the tiers aren't penalizing the Dodgers and Mets and others enough
Right.
to make them stop doing it. They're still doing it. They're willing to not make any money, as I said. Dodgers aren't going to they didn't make money last year. They were fine with that if it meant having a chance to win the World Series. The argument that the Dodgers are bad for the sport and the reason we're going to have a lockout, well, the Mets are the argument opposite that. They had to sell everybody off. They have the biggest cap hit of all.
Right.
So, we can play this game both ways. It's a tennis match.
Andrew Marchand wrote a column for The Athletic, and he wrote about a top sports media executive telling him that Tony Romo's contract, that being 10 years, $180 million, was, quote, the worst contract in media history.
Right.
He went on to outline everything about why that may be true, from being unprepared the last couple of years to his latest OWI arrest. Romo still has $72 million left on his deal. CBS has some big games slated for this year, including Ravens Cowboys from Brazil, as well as hosting the Super Bowl or airing the Super Bowl in 2028. Would you tuck it or untuck it if I said that CBS will look to do what they can involving Tony Romo's morals clause to make sure he does not broadcast another game for them?
I would tuck it.
Chris is right.
Because if it means that they can potentially save money, then they'll probably pursue that. They are, I'm sure, very well aware, no matter what they've said publicly in defense of Romo and Nance and the team, that it has its detractors. I am a little bit like, I think a lot of you that are following it, like, I'm not sure what it means where he's suspended and J.J. Watt's going to assume the number one. Well, yeah, that makes sense right now, but we're also 5 weeks away from the start of the season. Are we waiting for something?
Right.
Is it going to be rectified before we even get there? Is it just going to be a preseason game on CBS's schedule that we'll see this and then that will be it? And then, of course, there's the giant carrot of Greg Olson works for Fox, and people want Greg Olson, and it's just a matter of what seat will come empty first, and now a seat can come empty. And I do think that they would at least look at it if it, one, saves them money, and they do believe with Olson. And I don't know with Watt. Watt had his up and down moments last year, but it was his first year doing it. Like, I would think that they might look at that. I'd be surprised if they don't.
I think Greg Olson's fantastic. I love listening to him call games. Back to Romo real quick. Has he called his final game in the booth for any company?
I doubt it. I doubt it. He's still entertaining, and as much as he has detractors, he's one of those polarizing guys. He's equally as popular, I think, with some fans as well. If you were to ask the average fan to rank just broadcasters, and maybe the average fan doesn't even know the difference between a play-by-play guy and an analyst, I bet Romo's name would come up very often amongst like top 5 listed.
Okay. All right. Speaking of the NFL, got the Hall of Fame game on Thursday with the Cardinals taking on the Panthers. Teams always approach the preseason differently about whether they want to use their starters or not.
Kenny Pickett, baby.
One major decision for the teams involved is the Arizona Cardinals about whether or not to play Jeremiah Love, the 3rd overall pick from this past year's draft. Despite the uncertainty of the Arizona offensive line, guys like Love and number 1 overall pick Fernando Mendoza, my opinion, should absolutely play a majority of all the preseason games to give them a glimpse of what life in the NFL is like. Would you tuck it or untuck it if I said that guys like Malik Willis, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here, but guys like Malik Willis and Quinn Ewers
Yes.
should, at least for the Miami Dolphins, get a fair 50-50 split of all games for the Dolphins preseason wise?
Tuck it.
Chris is right.
The other thing is the convoluted nature of like, I didn't know what I was responding
Right.
to. I would expect Love to play the first series, maybe get a handful, just because he's a rookie, get him out there. That'd be one part of it. I would agree with you, a rookie quarterback, especially if you're not planning on playing Mendoza, get him out there, get him his reps. Get him with the first team, right? Don't even the second team, if you will, like don't bury him late in the game, but like get him out there early. And I would agree with you for the Dolphins, you're introducing a lot of new characters. Like I want to use it as practice. I've always thought it's been a waste, especially the young guys. It's different if you're a veteran, even a veteran on a new team. I'd understand where maybe you don't want to put them out there, but the young guys, this is their opportunity to get real reps, face real bullets. Like I think that's a good thing.
So sticking with Arizona, I mentioned Jeremiah Love. What about a Carson Beck, who's right now 3rd on the depth chart, behind Minshew and then Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I don't, if I missed it, I don't know if Arizona, I saw where it's going to be Kenny Pickett for Carolina starting on Thursday.
I don't think Arizona's listed.
I would start Carson Beck 100%. There's no need for to see the other guys. I know it's a new offense, but it's a new coordinator, so a new coaching staff. It's like it's all new, but yeah, I would start Beck 100%.
And then on the flip side, you have Mike McCarthy, who came out and said he wants to see Aaron Rodgers playing at least 2 preseason games. And to that, ask why.
I'm okay with that, not in week 1, but we have 3 preseason games in week 2 and maybe a series in week 3. Because I think the interpretation of that is how much is he going to play. I am not so cautious. I want to wrap everybody in bubble wrap. So it's a new system, new offense. If you just want to get him out there for a little bit.
Is this a new system? Because Rodgers and McCarthy were together in Green Bay.
Look, if that's what McCarthy wants, I think he's entitled to ask for it. I would defend a coach in that. I hear what you're saying. I'm also not so scared that Rodgers is going to get hurt if he takes 10 snaps in a preseason game.
I would much rather, again, we just talked about guys like Carson Beck. Pittsburgh's got 2 guys, 3rd and 4th on the depth chart, and Drew Aller and Will Howard. Get them reps.
Well, and I think they'll get the majority of them. Don't you?
I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah,
but again,
I think they'll get the vast majority of them.
Why take away reps from them by putting Aaron Rodgers out there?
Because he's working with 2 new wide receivers, and I think I would want to see that out there for a little bit as well.
I think he'd be fine not having a preseason. But that is tuck it or untuck it.
Agree to disagree a little bit on that one. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, but again, I think each coach has to decide for themselves. All right, that's good. Nothing on Justin Herbert, huh?
No, you already got me riled up enough today.
All right, something in baseball happened last night that's pretty funny. I'll share that with you next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends. Ooh,
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
As we wrap things up today on the beat of sports, thank you to Matt Murschel for joining us earlier today. I'll be back in the seat tomorrow with Marc on his vacation. Did you see last night in Houston, Taylor Trammell hit what he thought was a home run and rounded the bases, and it was actually caught at the wall by Toronto, and he was the only one in the whole ballpark that didn't know it was a home run?
Stud of the week.
I mean, it'll be. I think it'll be.
That's embarrassing.
I think it'll be funny for him, like maybe even today, but certainly post career to laugh about it. But like, dude had his head down, running around had no idea. Went all the way to home plate, did a little celebration when he got home, and then looked up like, why is nobody happy? And it's at home. You would have thought like maybe the alarm bells would go off when no one was cheering anymore, and the Blue Jays were running off the field.
Not only that, I don't even think it was close to being a home run. Like there was a little leap at the wall, but it might have gone off the wall.
But I think the Blue Jays outfitter hit the wall. I'm guessing he just thought it was gone off the bat because he's running head down, like he's doing a full jog around the bases. But yeah, never looked up and thought it was gone. Oops. CV, man. Thank you, bud.
Thank you, Tuck.
Be back in this chair tomorrow. The Herd with Cal and Cowherd is next, followed by Bianchi and Kravitz at 3 o'clock. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.